Yeah, take the glasses off. That's fine. Take them off. Hey, everybody. It's Jonathan Keller from California Family Council, along with
Greg Burt.
We're using this microphone, so hopefully you guys can hear us okay. It's always a little bit of a challenge to get good audio out here, so as we start, I'm going to make sure that our audio is started well and sounding good. But sounds good to me. I just tested it on the iPad. So we'll go ahead and start. It is a little bit warm today, as you can see. We just stepped outside after doing a lot of meetings today with over the phone, some emails, some texts. We had some different things going on. There was a huge, huge protest out here earlier against the mandatory vaccination passports that were being proposed by both Buffy Wicks and Evan Lowe. Greg, you want to talk briefly about those two bills? I think it was, what was it, AB 455 and AB 1102. Those are, I think, the ones that people are the most curious about.
That's right. And so both those bills were going to be gut and amended, meaning they were going to change at the last moment. And these amendments that they were floating around to change these bills were leaked. And so a lot of people were protesting. It's what precipitated this particular protest. The first one, AB 455, was more or less going to mandate everybody get a vaccine and everybody going in any employment context, and most indoor businesses were going to have to require indoor vaccination. So that didn't last very long. There was a lot of protests for that. But what was remaining was a bill language that was going to focus on businesses who wanted to force their employees to get vaccinated. And they didn't want the legal liability from getting sued. And so the legislature was proposing some legislation that would protect them from getting sued by folks being forced to get vaccinated.
Liability protection.
That's right. So that actually, we were thinking it was going to come up today, but the author of the bill, Assemblyman Lowe, Democrat out of San Jose, sent out a statement that they just couldn't get it done in time. But we had the whole business community all in favor of it. The Kyle Chamber, lots of business organizations were for, not getting sued, but of course they were going to force their employees to choose between, working and eating or get the vaccination.
And I want to clarify for everyone who's watching here. I know there is a wide range of opinions on vaccination and different things like that. As an example, we have a personal friend of mine, a guy named Daniel Darling. He is a pastor. He was on staff with the National Religious Broadcasters, and on the reverse side of things, he went and did an interview talking about the fact that he and his family had personally prayed. They'd made the decision to get vaccinated, and they had a very compelling reason. They talked about the number of close family friends that had died as a result of COVID-19. They talked about some very compelling reasons in an op-ed he wrote for USA Today, and unfortunately, he was fired because that, I guess, was outside the bounds of what his employers thought he should say. So my personal opinion is, Greg, you should not be fired for making a conscientious objection to not get the vaccine. I also don't think you should be fired for advocating to get the vaccine. I think our country is big enough. We should have enough religious freedom. We should have enough freedom of association that people should be able to comment on these issues without being fired. And it's unfortunate to see the entire business community kind of lockstep that was supporting this. But it's good. We saw, literally thousands and thousands of people out here at the Capitol today. It was good to see everything remain peaceful, everything remain calm, and to have people be able to share what their thoughts were on this bill.
Yep. So, and it was announced in the middle of their event that the bill protecting businesses for liability for forcing their employees to get vaccinated did not go through. So I'm sure they were happy about that.
Yeah, and there's lots of info about this rally today. If you guys go online, just search for any of the info regarding AB 1102. That was the key bill that was at issue, because the other bill, AB 455, was already announced. It would not come back till next year. I will say this. Both these bills will very likely come back in the next session in January. and you could see either or both of them pass and be sent on to Governor Newsom. All of that is obviously depending on if there is a Governor Newsom after next Tuesday. As you guys know, California Family Council is a 501c3 nonprofit educational organization. We do not endorse or oppose any candidates for office. We are just saying that as information. I will say information. It currently looks like a lot of polls are saying that Governor Newsom is kind of regaining some of the lead that he had. It seems that now that Larry Elder has been gaining on question 2 in the polls, that has kind of helped Governor Newsom to be able to pivot and be able to not just have to defend his own record or run on the COVID lockdowns and everything else, but instead he has now pivoted to almost exclusively attacking Larry Elder.
Yeah. So, but there's a lot still happening here at the Capitol. This is the last week of the legislative session, so all the bills that we have been fighting all year long, decisions are being made as we speak, and so I think 2 of the bills that have not gone through that we're still watching is the assisted suicide bill that's going to make it easier, take away some of the safeguards put in place, and make it much easier to actually get the suicide drugs if somebody wants it. And so that's a disappointment. Well, it's not a disappointment, but we are still fighting that bill, and hopefully the legislators will change their minds about this and not approve it. And then the other one,
SB 357. This is the one, Greg, that I think I want you to take a minute here. I'm going to pick up the iPad and make sure we're still streaming fine, but I want you to talk about this because this is something, folks, it's so far beyond the pale. It's amazing that this even passed out of its first committee hearing, but the remarkable tragedy was that this bill has made it all the way to the floor, and it's really, I'm cautious about bragging too much, but it really is only because of the efforts of Greg and the coalition that California Family Council has helped assemble that this bill has received notice and opposition. A lot of people did not even realize this was happening until Greg started sounding the alarm.
So this is a particular bill. It is SB 357. It is a bill to more or less take away a law. It's called Loitering for Prostitution. So currently, police have the ability, if sex trafficking is happening right out in the open on some of our poorest neighborhoods, police have the right to help stop that open trafficking, sex trafficking, by either making arrests or citing both the buyers of sex, people buying young women, or also citing the prostitutes, to try and curb that kind of thing happening right out in the open. And so this bill is actually legalizing, it's called street walking, and so police will no longer be able to approach someone that they know scantily dressed, half naked, with the cars rolling up around the block to buy these women, with pimps in the corner with their cell phones, making sure that their girls are being sold. It's going to be much harder to fight that if loitering is now going to be legal. And so yesterday we had a press conference with some actual survivors of sex trafficking explaining that they were rescued by police and that we should not be getting rid of the police out of these situations. We should not think police are the bad guys. The bad guys are the men who are buying these girls. It's tragic, and so this bill has been, it still hasn't been voted on by the Assembly. Finally, it went through the Senate already, but it has to go back. So anyway.
Well, Greg, I wanted to encourage everybody as we've got flies buzzing all around here. You did the press conference yesterday here on the steps of the Capitol, and that video is available both, I think, on our YouTube and our Facebook channels, correct?
That's right.
So I encourage you, if you did not watch that video live yesterday, go back and watch the video of these women that are survivors of sex trafficking and hear their stories about why we were trying to defend them and why we are trying to get their voices to be heard by the legislature. One of the most powerful things, Greg, that I heard from the coalitions, one of the conference calls that I was on, was these women pointing out the fact that it is absolute hypocrisy, because we hear over and over the fact that we need to protect women, which we agree with as an organization and as husbands. But we also are just shocked, I think, by the fact that you hear so often we hear things about white privilege in society, and we need to be checking our privilege and things like that. Well, the ultimate privilege that these women were pointing out is that the neighborhoods that many of these legislators live in are not going to be affected by this bill at all. These nice, pristine, high-class neighborhoods where these rich legislators live, they're not going to be affected by this bill to legalize prostitution, legalize street walking. And in other cases, the most vulnerable girls are not going to be college-educated white women. They are very often low-income and non-college educated minorities, African American, Hispanic, Asian, and they are being preyed upon. They are being victimized by this underground industry. And it's just shocking to me that this bill has even received any support from either party.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think maybe there's some ignorance. You know, we don't want to treat many of these girls who are out there. They're being forced to be out there, so why are we treating them as criminals? But really, if you take police's, sometimes what saves these women is actually when they get arrested, right? Then they're offered services, and you know, they're pulled away from their traffickers. Many of them are being threatened. Their children are being held for ransom, right? And so they need rescue, right? Yep. We need to work with police to make sure that they're treating them right, and we need to come down hard on people buying these people. It is shocking that really the penalty for buying someone on the street is like the same as getting a ticket for speeding or texting, right? Yep. It should be a stiff penalty, and the government here should be able to stop a type of trade that is horrendous for people. If they can, I was just thinking the other day, it's so you can hardly sell fruit on the street, right? Mm-hmm. The health department comes out or you're trying to sell hot dogs, the government comes down on you, makes the business impossible. But if you have open street trafficking and the business throws up its hands and says, well, what can we do? Something's wrong. And Christians need to see the evil for what it is and stand up to it. And so this is just this particular bill is a push to eventually legalize prostitution across the board. Yep. All right, it's happening worldwide, but even the sponsor of the bill, Senator Scott Wiener, has already said he wants to legalize sex work, as he calls it. He wants to dignify it, right? And the ACLU, who's also a co-sponsor on the bill, also wants to fully decriminalize sex trafficking, and they're just starting with this bill. And so we got to stand up.
And I think it's such an important reminder for us to say that every single one of these women that is being trafficked, that is being involved in quote-unquote sex work, has dignity by virtue of the fact that they're made in the image of God. And it is absolutely appropriate, and we must provide dignity to them as individuals, but we should never dignify or legitimize this horrible exploitative profession that some people inside this building, for some reason, seem to think is the way that we should go. So I'm just really grateful to Greg and to the whole coalition. It's a different type of group than people that we've worked with in the past. There are, I think, some people on the commission that are non-Christians. There are some people on the commission or on the coalition that are all different parties, not just conservatives or Republicans, but liberals and Democrats. You have feminists who have come out and strongly oppose this bill, that they might not agree with us on maybe some the abortion issue or LGBT issues, but they can see and they agree that women should not be victimized by these pimps, these Johns that are either trying to sell women for sex or buy women for sex. So there are, as Greg said, those are the two big bills, the assisted suicide and the prostitution bill. Those are the two that we're kind of waiting on. But all the rest of them have either passed from one house to the other, or they're awaiting a final vote before they make it onto Governor Newsom's desk. So Folks, there is a lot happening here at the Capitol, and I want to say from all of us at CFC, thank you for your support. Thank you for praying for us. Thank you for helping share these videos, forward emails to your friends, retweet things, repost things, leave comments on Facebook. We really do need your help to get the word out because, I mean, we saw it today, Greg. Some of the posts that you shared on our CFC page the last couple days, after being up for 48 hours or longer, 1 comment or 4 likes. You can tell when there is something that the Facebook algorithm does not want other people to see. So I would encourage you, if you've watched this all the way to the end, please share it with your friends, share it with your family. No, don't just reshare it on your own Facebook wall, but even consider copying the link and sharing it on email as well to help drive more people to the traffic. So any other final comments, Greg?
I think that's good. We give a lot of information.
We are sweating and melting out here,
That's
so
right.
we will see you guys later. But it's the 8th of September. 2 more days left till the legislative session, so we're gonna. It's a race to the finish, but we'll be back with you guys again soon with a recap. If not this Friday, probably sometime next week, along with updates on the recall election as well. For now, I'm Jonathan Keller.
Greg Burt.
God bless. We'll talk to you soon.